Welcome to another episode of This Old Hooptie, where I take this piece of crap and try and make it into something a little more pretty, I hope. In today's episode, we have a lot going on, so we're going to move quickly. I'm going to go over the details and get right into the video. Ready? Here we go. We're going to be replacing the disgusting door panels with the LRB aluminum racing door panels. We're going to be redoing the floor of the interior, getting all of the rust and damage and garbage off of this so I can get it painted. That way I can get started on the sound deadening. We're also going to finish wiring up the rest of the wire harness. We're going to connect it into the battery with brand new 0-gauge cables over here. Okay, now that you guys are all caught up to date, let's get right into the work. As usual, the links for everything I use will be in the description down below or off to the side, so if you need something, that's where to find it. All right, the grime's out. A little bit of the stench is still here. Make sure you're using a mask when you clean these things out, because who the hell knows what you're breathing in when you're vacuuming these things up or scraping, scrubbing, etc. Let's start on the most disgusting side first. Get that cleaned up, shall we? All right, let's go. Well, I guess that needs a break, huh? And that is the downside of using crappy tools. Let's keep going. As you can see, the inside's white. Outside's rust colored. That's why you want to wear these things. So apparently, as you can see here, there we go. And here, I did get the model with the floor air conditioning, and then I will have to weld close all of those little holes prior to me putting, well, technically I don't, but I'm going to. I'll weld close all of the little holes before I get the paint and then sound deadener on here. So let me clean up any other little rust areas found on that side. As you notice, most of the rust was right here. This is pretty much dust sitting on top of here, but this whole area was filled with water due to the holes that were in there. That side over there, there really wasn't any water, so it's just paint. So I'm just going to take off any of the peeling paint in that area and really focus my attention over here on making sure this rust doesn't come back. All right, so after I cleaned everything off, I hit everything with 3 coats of the VHT rust converter. As you can see, it turns anywhere where there's still leftover rust, at least on the top, it'll turn it black. So anywhere where it's black, there was still some rust. So as you can see, we're getting there. So any of the still exposed metal will get primer shot over it, and then I will coat the entire floor with whatever color I have on hand. I don't have red here, so it'll probably end up being orange or black or purple. In the meantime, that floor has 24 hours before I can put anything else on top of it, so I'm going to bang out the LRB door panels real quick, and then we'll start on the wiring. So let's get those door panels on. All right, here's the quick and dirty on getting these LRB door panels installed. They come with everything you need. They have 2 size Allen head bolts. The smaller ones are the number 4. Those are going to be for the M5 screws that are going to hold this to the door. And then there are 2 larger ones that go in the strap. These are number 5. So each one gets a washer, as you can see. I've just laid these all out ahead of time. The instructions have all the details you need to get these things mounted. You're going to take your riv nut tool and you're going to insert riv nuts where they tell you to. All right, so if you don't already have a riv nut tool, you can either order one when you order the LRB doors, or you can order one from the link below in my description. So to install the riv nuts, you're gonna locate the original holes for the door panel plastic screws. You'll see I still have one in there I gotta pull out. Find the ones that it says to put the riv nuts in, insert the riv nut. There you go. Nice and solid, and now we can screw our door panel to that. So let's get all the rest of these in real quick. So there's no harm, no foul. You can always drill these out and replace them with the plastic locking pins for the door panels, but they don't make these in Coverlay, and I'd have to get another pair from a junkyard, which they don't have. I've been looking, so I don't think I'll be changing these. I'll probably just fabric over the ones that I do. So the nuts that are pre-welded for where the door pull used to be are what the larger M6 bolt are going to attach to after we get this on. let's get the door card in place. Just gonna slide it over the top. So I'm just gonna loosely get these into place and lock it down for now just to get these out of my way. In the end, they're gonna have to come back off because I have the felt trim coming for the inside and the outside of the doors that I'm gonna have to redo. But for right now, these will get them off my floor and make use of them. So let's do this. And then our pull strap. All right, that looks really good. And if I leave them painted, like if I take this silver and I paint it black, then I'm going to change these washers and these bolts to be black. This way it is seamless. I'm also gonna have to replace this because, as you can see, this is now really ugly and old, whereas that one over there is gonna be replaced and brand new. So I'll order the passenger side on this and get that swapped out. I'm very happy with this. I'm not gonna leave it silver. I'm definitely going to be either painting it or covering it in fabric, but it has to come off, like I said, because I gotta put the felt strip and rivet that onto the inside and put the new felt strip on the outside as well. I'll get to those when they get here. Let's get that side done real quick. All right, to swap these handles out, pretty simple. Once you've unscrewed it, you slide it forward like you saw, pop it out, pop these two out of the clip, and then you have two little metal clasps on the bottom. Basically, you just lift up gently just to get it outside of the hole and slide it forward. And then you're gonna slide it right back on because the top part will lock in the two little bars. So take these. So the two pins here, you're gonna slide this over the pin, get the pin through the hole, and then snap it into place like that. You'll hear it click. Now this is locked in. Same thing for the top one. So it's just the tiniest bit shy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bend this little tab back a little bit more. That way I can fit it over the top here. There we go. Now we're in. All right. Now we just lock that pin into place. Get these back in their little clips here. And slide our door lock back. There we go. And then we put in our one screw here and we're done. That's why I could never leave this plain old aluminum, because I would go nuts with the fingerprints. Don't worry, the doors are being repainted along with the outside. Just like we did the black truck, I will do the inside of these doors, whatever color they're gonna end up being, prior to finishing up this interior. All right, so these are really, really nice. Like if this was gonna be a race truck, I wouldn't have any problem leaving it just like this. But for me, I want everything similar colors. So since I'm taking the time to redo this dash and add the new carpet, redo the back and the headliner over there, we're gonna do the same treatment to the door panels, and we're gonna get these black, either painted or fabric. We're gonna use 0 gauge copper welding wire. I'm gonna run right from the negative down to here. Let's make us up a cable. Make sure that's on there nice and tight. We're gonna use a little rubber boot plus our heat shrink. All right, that ain't going nowhere. And then we can pull our little bootsy over this thing, like so. There we go. There, peel this back, boop, and cover it up. All right, let's get the other end done. There we go, nice and pretty. Look at that. All right, you guys can see the new frame ground right there. We'll tighten that up, and then we'll cover it up with this little boot. Keep it nice and clean. Make it a socket, and we'll also get this onto here. you look at that? This does not tighten at all. So that's definitely a bad ground. Fantastic. Oh, boy. Well, that explains a lot. Now I can just put a nut on that, and I got a frame ground. Alright, I will run to the hardware store in the morning and get a nut and a washer for that bolt that I just welded to the frame. Then we'll get the battery back in, get our frame ground on, and get our cab ground on. Let's pick this up in the morning. For you guys, it'll be like a second. Alright, the grounds have been extended from the harness. We're going to take this right here and run it along inside the intake here, and then just hook it onto the new ground bolt right there. Well, not the new ground bolt, but the existing ground bolt right there. All right. Under this. There. And that's it. Nice and clean. Now we can continue. Let's get these headers off, and let's get the 2 power runs to the starter. Okay, we're gonna have to figure out something to do with this dipstick later. For now, let's just get all these bolts off. For those who haven't watched the other video, this dipstick, the bracket doesn't fit back here with this. Alright, as you can see, that last sensor tucked right in the back there is hooked up. We got our 2 runs that are going to the LS swap harness. I'm going to tie all this up as low as possible. Get this stuff zip tied way down here so it stays out of the way from these hot ass headers. Alright, we'll just tighten that down. We still got to run our trigger here and keep working our way that way. Straight. There. Beautiful. Now this is going to go to this side right here, and then this one here is going to go to some 10 gauge. That's going to run to a fuse block so we can hook up the rest of the parts of the cab, like start, etc. So I was going to use this little one. Just slap it right there. I kind of like the way that looks, but I don't want the wires coming up this way. So I was thinking about swapping that out for this one. That way, just my ground will come to here, go right over to there, and then the other wires can go off to the sides. These little 3 things here, these wires right to here. That's what I'm thinking. So, you guys even see what I'm showing you? Yeah. All right, so the plan is we're gonna mount this little fuse block right here, 2 right there, so I can start linking the battery and to the stuff into the cab. Woo! All right, I hope these screws are long enough. Got enough bite in them because I don't have anything else. So they're gonna have to work. There we go. Okay, that's gonna do. We got our negative, we got our positive, so we'll run a loop from the battery out to over here, and we'll jump this to over here. Good to go. So for this right here, I'm really just going to be jumping off for the lights and a few other things because everything else is going to be on the harness inside the truck. So really, I don't think I'm going to need more than probably a 10 or a 12 gauge wire because I'm really just powering lights, a horn, a radio. You know what? Might as well add some juice to it. All right. Sometimes in life, things just work out. They just do. So this is where I want to go to, right here. And here's my battery. And I got about 8 extra inches. So this is solid. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get a lug on here and a lug on here, hook this to our battery, and get this wire run. This eventually, just so you guys know, hopefully you guys can see that. We've got a plasma cutter right there. I've just got to take the time to install a 220 on my new sub panel. Once I've got that done, I'm going to slice that nasty bit out of there. That is where the ECU used to sit, which is now in the cab, so I don't need it. So the plasma cutter is going to make nice work out of that and get that right out of the way. This way I can run cables along the side here and zip tie into something substantial, get them out of the way. Well, that's what it'll actually look like. And we'll get this up under here, get this lug up, and then we'll run this across the top here, zip tie it into here, like so. You know what? I'm not even gonna cut this. I'm just gonna run it just like that. This way I can reuse it later, somewhere else if I need to. So we're just gonna run this just like that. Because this sharp corner here, I am not looking to get anywhere near. So I'm gonna run this out like that, which will keep it up away from everything. All right, let's get her on the truck. Now, this is definitely overkill for this little tiny thing, but it's what I had, and it looks cool, so it's getting used. Okay. Whip something up to go negative to negative. Now, negative should be the same size as the positive in reality, but since I'm using nowhere near a 0 gauge, I'm going to use a smaller wire over there. Actually, holy crap, look at that. I found more. All right, just go from here to here, like this, sweet. Probably come up from the bottom, like that. Let's cut this off over here. All right, you've seen me do this. You've seen me make cable multiple times now. Yes, this is seriously overkill, but since I have it, I'm gonna use it. That way everything's the same. I'm gonna cut it, and I'll click you back on in a minute when it's done. All right, extreme overkill on the wiring, but who cares? It's pretty cool looking, and cover fits. I've got room for 6 switches here. This will give us more than enough fused, good solid power to get that harness hooked up inside with the wires that I got here. So that's next. Okay, now if I have this correct, I got my fuel pump wires left. I got my starter, purple, and my pink is key on. This is going to turn the fuel pump on, so I'm going to power the fuel pump with this. This is going to have to go, yeah, it's going to power the fuel pump. Let's go over here. Okay, first let's see if we have power to what we need to, and we can get headlights on. Let's see if this whole thing blows up. Stand you back here where it's safe. We're going to plug everything up, see if we can get some headlights. Nothing is tight. I'm gonna tighten that ground right there. Oh, we got power. We got parking lights. Sweet. As you can see, that's definitely a step in the right direction. That's how it should work. All right, guys, let's go over what we got. Battery's good. We also ran this, and the reason why I did this stupid spiral right here is to stay away from this, because this is really sharp. I'm gonna have to cut this off, but I don't have time to do it now because I do not have a 220 for the plasma cutter. So this is what I did for now, and this is not gonna go anywhere near it. It's nice and stiff. And then we've got everything in the cab wired up over here with a solid ground and a solid 12 volts, and I get 12 volts inside the cab. So the harness is now powered and ready to be connected with the relays inside the cab. What's left is these 2 wires here for the fuel pump, the pink wire for key on, and then the purple wire right here, which is for crank. So I need to get that wired into the harness now, and then we should be able to test fire this. Oh, wait a second. I almost forgot the park neutral switch. So I'm gonna have to get this connected in between the starter and the key on. So when it goes to crank, it's gonna have to pass through here and then into the starter. And then the other part here, these, I believe it's these two right here, are gonna go to my tail lights. So I'll leave in the description the breakdown of what the old colors were and what the new colors are in the replacement plug for the park neutral switch. So go in the description to get that. All right, so now that the transmission's in neutral, we can take this off right here. This will only work if it's in neutral. If it's not in neutral, you're gonna screw up your park neutral switch. So make sure you put it in neutral first before you remove this and slide this new one home. Oh, Jesus. That was a bitch to get on there. All right. Hopefully you can see there the switch is still in neutral. Let me get this bolted in. Got a little red Loctite on these threads here. All right, now that we know we have power, I'm gonna get the last few wires. I gotta run a starter wire and connect the wires back to the key here so I can get this thing to turn over. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to get the TCC hooked up here, the brakes. I believe it's this white wire here. If I check the white wire. All right, so there's my TCC. I'm gonna jump into the white over here. Let's see here. I'm gonna run a couple more wires through to that new fuse block. I also need to be able to turn this thing over by the key. So I'm going to get a wire run out to go to the starter and one wire to go to the TCC is gonna run back over to the harness over here. And all right, we've got our TCC switch jumped. We've got two wires ran from the fuel pump and for trigger over to the wire harness. Temporarily it's right there. If I turn key on right now, I do get fuel pump, as you can hear. All right. The two larger wires, which are red and black, these are going to jump in between your starter. So you can do red going to your crank, which will be purple if it's an S10. And you can do the black, which is going to go out to the starter. When the truck is in anything other than park or neutral, it will not start, as you saw. And the other two wires we're going to use are the red. Sorry, the other two wires we're going to use are the pink and the white. The white is going to go to your backup lights, which is the light green in the harness going to the backup lights, and the red is going to go to power on your vehicle. So any 12 volt power source. So the pink one is C, the white one is F, the red for the starter is E, and the black for the starter is G. The letters are right here on both sides if you guys need to look for them. This way the colors are not important because you can just go by the letters. If you're going by this sheet here, F, which is the backup lamp supply voltage, that one needs to go to your tail lights, to the backup light. C, which is the ignition voltage, needs to go to a 12 volt battery source, always on. And let's see here, the other two is going to be E, which is your starter relay coil supply. That's going to be one of the ones that break into the coil. And the secondary one is going to be G, which is the neutral safety switch park neutral signal. So by breaking in between E and G into your starter wire, you'll be able to stop the truck or car from starting unless it's in park or neutral. And that's it. recharged these lights, so that's nice. Now I can see again. All right, so these wires here, none of them are used. They all go to the cab and to other features of the truck. I'm basically going to tape all of these off and just put them in some loom up here like this. We've got our new 12 volt power. Yes, I know it's majorly overdone as far as the wires go. We've got our ground here feeding our ground that's going to the harness. We also have a, for the fans, we have 2 power wires. Those are going to the 2 wires that go into the harness here for everything in the cab. We have redone and cleaned up everything. Here we go. Cleaned up everything on top of the intake, so you guys remember what that looked like. Now all the wires are nice and neat and tucked in. I also took the fuel filter off and ran it underneath everything, so at least that's a little more clean. Zip tied everything, made it nice and clean. Have one power wire. I have one power wire left for the fan, and that is going to go to a relay over here. The fan is, like I said, temporary for the radiator because I have to take all of this back out so I can recess the radiator into here. What I want to do is I want to be able to get this truck running with everything new that's installed. That way I can start working on the dash. This can go and sit outside while that gets done. Okay, now let me show you how I found the wire going to my tail lights or reverse lights. This way you guys can find it on whatever car, truck you're going to be working on. In today's special times, everybody goes on YouTube, the forums, everywhere, and just kind of looks up, or on the forums it's even worse because everybody just asks, where is this? What color is this? And blah, 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 instead of taking 10 seconds to Google it and look for the answer yourself. Let me show you how things used to be done. This is how things used to be done. You would get your Chitlins or your Haynes manual, you'd go through it and you'd find a wire diagram. So let's quickly go through that and I'll show you how you find your reverse lights. Ready? Here we go. Okay, so just so some people don't think I'm a total a-hole, what I've done is I've actually marked off the page, and that'll save you guys a few seconds. I know everybody likes to save seconds. So, but the simple thing is you go to your schematics or your wiring diagrams and you find the beginning. The beginning will usually start with the front of the truck. Here's your headlights. Go through the pages until you get to the end or the ass section of the truck. Here are your tail lights. Let's get you in nice and close so you can see. You'll notice here, this is your B/L or backup lamp. Here's your tail lights. So we notice that this has 2 connections. It has a positive and a negative. Your positive right there is light green. You'll notice that it's the exact same thing on the other side. Of course, it is light green. So here's how this works. You have your 2 reverse lights, which will go into the wire like this. And then you have your wires that are be going back towards the front of the truck. So you just look on the little diagram. You see right here, that one right there, light green, 24. So you just follow it along the front. You could jump into it anywhere, but if you want to jump into it underneath the hood, you just keep following the path of the harness that's going towards under the hood until you get to the front. Now you can verify that you're still on the right path here because right there, light green, 24, there's our backup lights. So we'll keep going forward until we get to where we want it. Going along this path towards the front of the truck, you keep going. You've got the fuse block here. This is the one inside your truck. So we want to keep going because we want to catch it under the hood. So we keep going, light green, 24, next page. And here is where things start to connect under the hood. So right here is as far as we need to go. This is underneath the hood. And if you look at all the colors here, a pink, we've got a brown, a dark green, a yellow, and a light green. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, so you'll notice the colors in this harness. There's 6 wires in the harness. We've got our light green, which we want. We've got a yellow, a dark green, a brown, a pink, etc. So you're gonna look at these colors right here, and we're gonna find the harness under the hood of the truck. Let's go do that now. All right, so I've made it pretty easy for you. You find the harness that's going towards the back of the truck. I've already pulled it out, and I've pulled back the loom a little bit so you can see. And look at that. Here's the same colors that we were just looking at. You got your brown, you got your light green, you got your dark green, you got your yellow. So what we want is we want this light green wire right here. See that one? There we go. So if we jump into this light green wire anywhere along this conduit, we can connect it over into the neutral safety switch. Okay, so what happens if you don't have access to the Chitlins manual we just went over, or a Haynes manual? Another way to find what you're looking for is have a power probe. These power probes can throw 12 volts down the line to light up a light bulb or really turn on anything that would turn on within your truck or car at 12 volts. So you just follow the harness from the back of the truck where your taillights are up to the front. So just stay away from any black cables because they're going to be your grounds. Basically, you can just pick your cable, and I'm going to try and do this so you guys will be able to see. Okay, so if I didn't know which light goes to which one of the bulbs in the back, these power probes are like 60 or 80 bucks. I think you can even get them for less if you get the ones without features. You really just need something that will have a switch that will throw 12 volts down the line. So what we'll do is we'll pick the first one. This is dark green. And we're basically just going to make a tiny little prick into the wire harness here. Little tape. You just want to cover up your little pin prick that's pushing this through. So there's our brake lights. So as an example, you just pick one of the wires and you throw 12 volts through it. And we just found our brake lights. We know that's not it. So I'm going to go to the light green now, which we know is the correct one. I'm just going to stick the little pin in here. All right. So you'll notice now, I'm in the light green wire and I'm throwing 12 volts down the line. And there's my reverse lights. So for me, since I already know this light green is my reverse light, I'm going to splice into here. I'm going to run a power going right to here. And I'm going to send the 12 volts down the line with the other end of the neutral safety switch. So, all right, I got brake lights?
Yes.
Okay. Turn the car on. We're going to check for reverse. Reverse lights on?
Yes.
Off?
Yes.
On?
Yes.
Off. All right.
Yes.
Turn signals?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. This is what's called a low rider when you're really, really low. All right. Let's see if I can start the car outside of gear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the car into reverse, and I'm going to see if I can start the car. No crank. That's a good sign. Now I'm going to put the car in drive. Nothing. Now we're going to put the car in park. This should start. Well, it should start. The starter fired though, so that's a plus. All right, let's see if we can get it to run. All right, let's go over what I did not get done. All right, so the weekend's over, like I said, so I got done everything just about. I did not get a coat of paint on the floor, so unfortunately I'll have to deal with that next weekend. I did not get my Hooker Blackheart steering shaft in, so I will have to do that next weekend. And I did not get my new plug wires installed, but I got the old ones installed and everything works, so that's what counts. So I'll get all this stuff in there in the next video. But for now, the car is safe to run and drive. Well, I wouldn't really call it safe because there's no steering shaft, so you're not really going anywhere. But I can go forward and backwards, and the car will only start if it's in park or neutral. So that's a solid plus. All right, so we did get the new fuse box, the new power wires, negative wires. Everything is run. Everything is nice and clean. Everything is functional. That's kind of the most important thing. That was really the point of this weekend. Next weekend, we'll get back at it, and we will get the interior moving forward, and I'll get the steering shaft in so I can actually back this in and out of the garage. All right, so that's going to do it for today's video. You guys know what to do. Like it if you like, don't if you don't. Subscribe to keep up with my latest shenanigans, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.